If you're hungry, you can smell my apple. I can't. I'm like on Ozempic. Why, you have like diabetes or something? Not diabetes. Is this a joke?
The nails
Do
falling
you like
out.
not know what Ozempic is?
By the way, you've been working on your body and on your health.
No, that's Ozempic.
This is what I didn't know. They've had these medications for the past 20 years. I didn't know that. They've been having these medications for 20 years, and we're just now hearing about it.
Like a year ago, I tried it.
Okay.
You know, it's like, you know, you try it. And I was one of the people that felt like so sick and like couldn't like play with my son. I was so skinny and I was just like he was throwing a ball at me and I was just...
It looks like Ozempic, the blockbuster medication for diabetes and weight management, is causing stomach paralysis.
Some weeks I can vomit up to 200 times.
Take Ozempic.
Ozempic.
The story of Ozempic is tied to the Gila monster, a venomous lizard that eats 3 times a year, a discovery that was ignored, nearly lost, and licensed for almost nothing. It is now the most valuable molecule on Earth, but the people it was supposed to help can't get it anymore.
Before the weight loss trends, Ozempic was originally designed to treat diabetes. Now the drug shortage has caused a lot of patients to scramble, including Dennis Klein.
So the product has worked great. The problem has been the availability. You cannot get it anywhere. We need this to live.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk is tweeting about it. Hashtag Ozempic hits 1 billion views on TikTok. And at the Oscars, Jimmy Kimmel is cracking jokes while celebrities awkwardly laugh.
Everybody looks so great. When I look around this room, I can't help but wonder, is Ozempic right for me?
A diabetes injection has become the world's most sought-after drug on Earth, because it's not just about diabetes anymore. Beyond its spectacular results for weight loss, the drug is now being hailed as a miracle cure for heart disease, kidney problems, and even addiction issues. This wasn't supposed to happen, and yet, Novo Nordisk, a quiet Danish insulin company nobody outside the medical world had heard of, is now the most valuable company in Europe, all from a drug that started running out. So what makes this drug so remarkable? Why are doctors prescribing a diabetes shot to non-diabetics? Why do people suddenly lose their urge to eat or drink? And why can't the diabetics it was made for get it? This is a story about one of the most singular companies on Earth, about a scientist nobody listened to, and about a side effect that changed everything, by accident. But to understand the craze and the risks, we have to go back to a company that was trapped by its own success. Novo Nordisk started in 1923 after Danish Nobel winner August Krogh brought insulin production home from the US, and for nearly a century they built an empire on one product, insulin. Insulin is the hormone that controls blood sugar. Without it, diabetics can't process glucose, which builds up in the blood and over time destroys everything: kidneys, eyes, nerves, heart. Insulin doesn't cure diabetes, it manages it, which is exactly why Novo had such a reliable business. Every diabetic needs it, every day, for the rest of their life. By the 2000s, Novo controlled roughly 30% of the global insulin market. They were the kings of insulin. But insulin was becoming a commodity. Margins were shrinking and cheaper generic competitors were eating their lunch. Novo was trapped. They just had a single product, which was attacked from all sides. So the question was, where do they go next? The answer, it turned out, was hiding in their own research labs. Their scientists had been studying a gut hormone called GLP-1 for years. This hormone was interesting because it also helps regulate blood sugar. GLP-1 stimulates the pancreas to release insulin in response to eating. For a company obsessed with diabetes, that was enough of a reason to keep funding the work. Weight loss wasn't the goal, it wasn't even a thought. Nobody at Novo was thinking about obesity. And in the pharma world, weight loss wasn't just risky, it was a career killer. Weight loss drugs had a graveyard of failures. One was even pulled from the market for heart damage, so no one wanted to touch the market. The medical establishment treated obesity as a moral failing, a lack of willpower. So why would a conservative Danish company risk its 90-year legacy on a vanity drug? Surprisingly, the answer was in the Bronx, New York. In 1992, Dr. John Eng, a researcher at the Bronx Veterans Affairs Medical Center, was obsessing over the Gila monster, a venomous lizard that only eats 3 or 4 times a year. He discovered a hormone in the lizard's venom called exendin-4, which to his surprise was similar in structure and function to the human hormone GLP-1. But there was something even more incredible. Human GLP-1 breaks down so quickly in the bloodstream within just 2 minutes of being released that it disappears before it can do anything useful. The lizard version stays stable for hours. It was a biological miracle, but when Eng tried to sell it, Big Pharma was not interested. Most slammed the door in his face, and he eventually licensed it for a fraction of what it was worth. So now you have a lizard chemical. Great. But what do you do next? Put it in humans? Yes, you could. And that was exactly the idea that led to exenatide, the first GLP-1 analog approved in 2005 for diabetes. Made from a synthetic version of the Gila monster molecule, it proved the whole concept could work therapeutically. Better blood sugar control, and crucially, a stable GLP-1 mimic that didn't vanish in minutes. But the lizard chemical also acted as real inspiration for Novo and everyone in the field. It was now clear that long-acting GLP-1 drugs were possible, and that sparked ferocious competition. Enter Lotte Bjerre-Knudsen. Lotte joined Novo in 1991 and took over leadership of their GLP-1 project. Her focus from the start was modifying the native human GLP-1 itself, not the lizard version, to solve its ultra-short lifespan in the body while aiming for something even better: superior efficacy, fewer side effects, and easier dosing. Her solution was elegant and entirely her own. She attached a tiny fatty tail to the molecule, which acted like a protective coat, stopping the body from breaking it down too quickly. Suddenly, the lifespan wasn't minutes. For liraglutide, her first breakthrough, approved in 2010, it lasted a full day. Then, with further tweaks, her team pushed it to a full week. This was semaglutide. But the company didn't care about your waistline yet. They just wanted a better diabetes drug. So they launched the trials, and everything looked normal until they started seeing some very strange results. The results from the trials came back, and they were not just good, they were confusing. Patients were melting, an average of 15% body weight reduction, almost like weight loss surgery in a pen. The Novo executives were shocked. See, diabetes drugs usually make you gain weight. It's part of the deal. But semaglutide was doing the opposite. The drug wasn't just talking to the pancreas, it was talking to the hypothalamus, the brain's hunger control center. The drug was whispering a lie to the most primitive part of the human brain. You are safe, you are full, you do not need to eat. And the patients felt it.
Drugs like Wegovy and Ozempic are 2 medications that have become popular for their weight loss benefits. And their increased popularity has put a spotlight on terms like food chatter and food noise. It's the idea of being preoccupied with food or eating. And while the medications can come with a hefty price tag, patients say the drastic change in their relationship to food is worth it.
I thought everybody was like me and was hungry 24/7. Thought about food all the time, thought about that cookie you didn't eat or you did eat. And I had no idea that there was such a thing as a normal appetite.
The food noise stops. If you're a binge eater, the noise in your head stops. It is just so unbelievable.
Now you might think the board at Novo popped the champagne when the weight loss data rolled in, but not quite. Lotte Bjerre-Knudsen faced internal resistance. Obesity was seen as risky territory after years of failed drugs elsewhere. But she argued the data was too good to ignore. Why stay safe in diabetes when the same molecule could tackle the bigger epidemic? Obesity isn't just a bigger market opportunity than diabetes, it's also exploding, with projections of nearly 1 billion adults facing obesity by 2030, on top of the 589 million already living with diabetes today. But there's one key reason, rarely mentioned, why this research survived long enough to deliver breakthroughs. Novo is owned by a charitable foundation, which means no stock options, no Wall Street pressure, no investors demanding quick returns. Most pharma companies would have killed this research after 5 years. Novo funded it for 25. Not because they were saints, but because their structure allowed a patience that their competitors simply couldn't afford. And yes, for sure, the trial data was too loud to ignore. Thousands of patients, consistently 15% weight loss. So they gambled. They took the exact same drug, semaglutide, put a higher dose in a blue pen and gave it a new name, Wegovy. They set the launch for June 2021. The plan was a slow, boring, responsible rollout, marketing it to doctors, treating the severely obese, gradually ramping production over 5 years. They thought they had time. That was the plan, and then the internet happened to them.
Everyone's talking about the new so-called magic bullet for obesity. A noticeably slimmer Elon Musk credits his weight loss to the prescription drug Wegovy, medication that claims to suppress appetite, boost metabolism, and melt fat.
I have about 3 weeks to fit into this dress.
Speculation persists that Kim Kardashian used Wegovy to squeeze into the famous Marilyn Monroe dress she wore at the Met Gala.
I knew I had to lose at least 10 pounds for it to even go up on me. I am gonna do every last thing that I can to try to make this happen.
Wegovy was Novo's official weight loss product. But because insurance covers diabetes medication yet rarely covers weight loss, doctors started writing off-label prescriptions for Ozempic instead. Prescriptions surged 300% year over year. Data shows up to 40% of those prescriptions were for people who didn't even have diabetes. This created an ethical dilemma nobody had seen coming. On one side, tens of thousands of diabetics risking their blood sugar spiral because the drug that kept them stable had evaporated from the shelves. On the other side, influencers pitching Ozempic as a weight loss miracle cure. Novo missed demand by a huge margin, a demand that exploded far beyond what anyone expected. Manufacturing bottlenecks caused the supply chain to buckle under the pressure. Desperation followed. Patients scrambled for access. And then something even more unexpected happened. Novo's value briefly surpassed Denmark's entire GDP, becoming so dominant it started influencing the value of the national currency itself. Just one company. So Novo started spending big. They poured $12 billion into new factories, building as fast as they could. But while the world was fighting over the supply, the drug was quietly working on other organs in the background. A trial in 2023 showed a 20% reduction in major cardiovascular events, heart attacks, strokes, and cardiovascular death in overweight adults. Then in 2024, another trial showed semaglutide slowing kidney disease progression by 24%, with results so convincing the trial was stopped early for ethical reasons. So the fat shot is actually a heart drug and a kidney drug. But if fixing one hormone can save your heart and your kidneys, what is it doing to your brain? You take the shot to lose weight and suddenly you don't want beer or any kind of alcohol.
I have no desire to drink wine anymore. And that's crazy to me because I couldn't stop before. Drinking for me was becoming a bit of an issue. And the fact that I just have no desire for it is something I didn't expect and is just an amazing side benefit. I can't even tell you.
How is it possible? It comes down to where this drug actually works in the body. It's not just in the gut, but also deep in the brain's reward centers. The drug appears to turn down the volume on the dopamine pathways that drive craving and addiction, not just for food, for everything. Alcohol, cigarettes, gambling, compulsive shopping. A 2024 study of over 80,000 people found semaglutide users had up to 50% lower risk of alcohol use disorder, a result striking enough that formal addiction trials are now underway. At least one leading rehab center has already started prescribing it for opioid and alcohol dependency, with doctors describing the effect on cravings as simply obliterated. First the heart, then the kidneys, then addiction. The leading theory tying all of this together is inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is the engine behind cardiovascular disease, neurodegeneration, fatty liver, and metabolic syndrome. It is the root of the decay, and semaglutide appears to suppress it. It may be one of the first drugs to target multiple chronic conditions and maybe even aging itself.
Yeah, I mean, this is really quite something. So we already had animal research and some observational human data that hinted that drugs like Ozempic might slow biological aging. But now we have the first clinical trial data that proves direct evidence of that. And it's not just slowing aging, it could even reverse it.
The science is extraordinary, potentially the biggest pharmaceutical breakthrough in decades. But can Novo actually deliver on this promise? Only time will tell. But in the meantime, serious problems have been uncovered. For example, semaglutide doesn't just burn fat, it also burns muscle. Studies suggest up to 40% of weight lost on these drugs is lean muscle mass. For a younger person, that's manageable. For an older one, it's dangerous, accelerating frailty and raising the risk of falls and fractures. The fact that muscle sparing is now the top goal for next-generation drugs tells you how seriously researchers take this problem. And then there are the stories that didn't make it into the press releases.
I enjoyed the days that I didn't have to worry about my appetite. I didn't, have cravings. I just felt like I was doing something positive for myself.
But several months later, in October 2023, Gant's husband found her on the floor unconscious. This photo was taken by her daughter, a nurse at the hospital where Gant was taken.
I had no idea what had happened to me.
Doctors found parts of her large intestine had died. It had to be removed. Then, while recovering from surgery, she went into cardiac arrest, prompting the hospital to call her daughter to warn her her mother could die.
It breaks my heart that my daughter got that phone call. It's horrible. Underneath here is...
Gant wanted to show us how she lives now. With her colon gone, she has a bag called an ileostomy bag attached to her abdomen at all times to collect waste.
I had no warning that this was even a possibility.
She's now suing drug maker Novo Nordisk, claiming its drug labels do not adequately warn patients and doctors about potentially serious side effects, including gastroparesis or stomach paralysis and bowel obstruction.
Her case is not isolated. The FDA updated Ozempic's label in 2024 to include gastroparesis warnings, and lawsuits against Novo are mounting. Regulators also investigated reports of suicidal thoughts among GLP-1 users in 2023 and quietly concluded the evidence was inconclusive. But the concern isn't unfounded. A drug that dampens the dopamine reward system could, in some people, suppress not just appetite but motivation and pleasure entirely. No one knows yet because semaglutide has only been in widespread use for 4 years. There are no decade-long users. In a real sense, we're all still in the trial. In 2024, Lotte Bjerre-Knudsen received the Lasker DeBakey Award, which is often called America's Nobel Prize, and the Breakthrough Prize in Life Sciences in 2025, from a sidelined scientist whose project was almost killed a dozen times to one of the most consequential drug developers in history. So here we are. A 100-year-old company, a molecule nobody wanted, a market everyone feared, a scientific cascade that is still unfolding. And incredibly, the biggest revolution in modern health didn't come from Silicon Valley. It came from a stubborn researcher, a reluctant insulin factory, and a lizard in the Bronx.